Hi and welcome back. In this assignment we're going to use our selection to then do some really significant changes to our scene. And in this case, since we've selected these mountains, we're going to actually swap out the background with different sky images. So I already have this selected from the last lecture. So for your assignment you'll want to select this, and if you need help with that, go back to the previous lecture for the walkthrough. But once you have this selected, then we're going to make a new layer from this selection. And the way that you do that is you just hit Control J while you have it selected, and it's going to automatically make a new layer. And I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can see it better. You can see from the thumbnail that now this layer, the background has been cut out, so that's just transparent pixels, and the foreground is what we had selected. And if I hide this layer that we have preserved underneath, you'll see that the sky is now gone. And this is where the fun begins with layers, because we can start to add new backgrounds in place. So let me just show that again. We'll just leave it on for now. And we're going to go get some other backgrounds. So let's jump over to this one. We have a picture of the Northern Lights here. And to copy this over into our other image, we go ahead and go to the Move tool, which is V. That's your keyboard shortcut. Left click to grab it, and we're going to drag it up to this image that we're working on. Drag it back into the image, and you'll see a little plus sign by my cursor. And you release, and it drops that image in. Now what it's done is it's dropped that layer on top of our other layer. And so you can see it's covering it up. Now all we have to do is grab that layer and slide it down and drop it below our mountain layer, and bam, we've got that background. Now you can see that this doesn't quite fit, and we can move this around by just clicking on it or making sure that this layer is selected here. And then we're going to hit Control T, Command T on a Mac, to show our transform controls. You can see now we have these little transform controls, and I'll scroll out a little bit by hitting Alt and scrolling, and then we can just adjust this to fit. So we'll go grab this, and you really just have to get it to the edges. You can go beyond if you want to like make it bigger, depending on how it matches up with your scene. But we'll just go to we'll do it actually kind of big, and then we can play with it and move it around. So see, we can move it lower, you can drop it down to get it really intense. You could bring it up to so you see a little more of the sky back there. And then when you're ready, you just hit enter, and you're done. So we can select on this layer and we can move it around, or we can select on our mountain layer and we can move it as well. So if you want to get more sky and make it all about the sky, you have to be a little careful of what's in the background there. Obviously you don't want those trees showing up, so you'd probably have to go like there, or you could bring this way down if you wanted, and then you could grab your sky layer and bring it down too to hide your trees. But it just depends on what you want your focus to be on. I'm going to just hit Control Z to plop those back where they were. And then we can put other background images in here too. So we've got the Northern Lights, that's pretty cool, but what if we wanted to put some just regular clouds in there? Again, make sure you're on the Move tool, which is V. Grab it by left clicking it, drag it up to here, drag it back down in, and release, and it plops it in. Oh, and that time I was selected on this, so it actually put it in the right place, which is nice. And then we'll move it around to fit it, and that one just happens to fit just fine. And then you can just move it to wherever you want it. If I want more of these billowy clouds, I just bring it up like that. Or if I want more of the just simple smooth clouds, I'll do it right around there. And you can see how that completely transforms the vibe of this image. And then you'll notice you're not seeing this image because it's hidden under here, but if I wanted to get that one back, all I do is hide this guy and I'm into that completely different scene. It just depends on which one's on top. Okay, and then let's do one more just for fun. We'll go get some just bright, brilliant blue sky. Move tool, left click, drag up into that tab, drag it down and drop it. Okay, so now we just have pure blue sky. And again, watch out for your background elements, make sure that things aren't peeking through, but we'll just slide this down. And there you go. And again, if I wanted to move this layer down to get more sky, I could go to like there if I wanted. I like it where it is, to be honest, so we'll just leave that. So all we did was go to our background layer, make a selection of the mountains using our quick selection tool, and then while we're selected on the background and while we have this selected, we hit Command J to make a duplicate layer, and it makes a new layer just of that selection. And then we put that selection on top and we drop different background layers in behind it, and depending on which one you decide to hide or show determines which background you see. And we can even take this one step further based on what you know about adjustment layers. And while we're clicked on this layer, we can go and add a new adjustment layer for brightness and contrast. And we can adjust the way that this looks. The trick is, so say we wanted to go lighter, you'll notice it's also lightening up the sky because this adjustment layer is brightening everything below it. But what if we just wanted to brighten up the mountains because we like the dark sky? Well then, we just hover between the two of these. We press the Alt key or Option on a Mac, and you'll notice now we have this little arrow with a box. And we're just going to clip this adjustment layer to the layer below it. So I hold Alt or Option, and then I just click, and notice it put that little arrow there. This is now attached just to this layer. So if I increase the brightness, notice the mountains get brighter or darker, but the sky stays the same. So now we can adjust our layer here, and so if we wanted this to be more of like a bluebird day, beautiful, bright, sunny day, we just increase the brightness. If we wanted it to be more of a moody nighttime scene, almost as if this is an early sunset, then we reduce the brightness. That's a little unrealistic because this looks like sunshine, so you have to keep those things in mind. This would be better suited brighter as more of a daytime scene. And then of course you can toggle it on and off like that. And then we can also toggle on and off our different backgrounds. Let's get this out of the way. We'll toggle off our different backgrounds, and we can see what happens. Oh, actually I need that back. And we can see what happens as we adjust the mood of these mountains and how it relates to the sky. So the blue sky picture and this cloud picture, the mountains do better when they're brighter. But if we go to the night sky with the northern lights here, then where this is really a nighttime sky, it doesn't actually make any sense. So then we could go for a darker feel. We could either increase the contrast. Let's just play with it a little bit. Yeah, if we increase the contrast, bring down the light, it's going to look a little bit more like an evening scene with the stars that are just first coming out after the sunset. And while we're at it, this one, I like the idea of taking this and moving it down so you really see more of those northern lights. Okay, so your assignment is to go do your selection on your mountains and then download these other images and click and drag or copy and paste them into this image. Make sure they're below this mountain layer, and then play around with them. And then if you want, you could even create a brightness and contrast adjustment layer, and you can play around with your mountain image. Then you can just toggle everything off. You can go to different layers. Oh, that one you have to move it up a little bit. And you can just play with your different layers and play with your adjustment layer to kind of see how everything looks. Okay? Go do that, and be sure to post your things in the Q&A and hit me with any questions that you have. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lecture we'll dive right into another assignment that will help you to refine your selections and make better selections when the subject is a little bit more difficult.